Okay, everyone, so this is my review of 9 Perfect Strangers, episode 4, Brave New World. Like every episode this season, is directed by Jonathan Levine, but it's written by showrunner David E. Kelley and also showrunner John Henry Butterworth. So for me, which I'm going to delve into with this review, really standout performances in this episode from Regina Hall and Bobby Cannavale. I mean, some really good scenes from the both of them, which we're going to get into. But starting off this episode, we get more of this flashback that Masha is thinking of when she's confronted about drugging them. And this is when she was shot in this parking garage in this mysterious moment we don't know much about. But what annoys me is some of the camera work in this show, and here in particular, it was such an out of focus shot to the point that it's so blurry that we can't even see half the top of her head, Nicole Kidman. So I thought it was just overdone. It was too much. But again, it's something odd about the flashback scenes in the show that aren't really working. But I do like we jump into right where we left off, the cliffhanger from last week, and we learn that she's microdosing them with basically psychedelic mushrooms, which the drug name is psilocybin. And what's interesting is that she hasn't been drugging Jessica and Ben, so I like that adds a little intrigue to why that is. But I love that it sets up in this episode Jessica wanting to know why that is, and now wanting to get in on the fun. And what really works is a lot of payoffs in this episode, just like that one, with things that are set up in this opening scene at the dinner table. But also that it sets up everyone's angry at her about the microdosing, and then by the end of it, everyone's on board. It does a nice job of brilliantly converting our characters into seeing the way of Masha. And you'll see Masha is basically confronting everyone, like when they're confronting her, like, hey, we all have our secrets here. And this is where she even alludes to someone being a killer because she knows possibly that Tony is. And this sets up Tony revealing this later on in the episode. But I like that Masha's like the role of Wadsworth from the Clue movie. It's a great movie if you haven't seen it, but it's a kind of interaction that Wadsworth will have with the characters of Clue, that they're all these messed up people. And whenever they confront him, he knows how to manipulate, turn it back on them. And we really get to see Masha's side of manipulation throughout this whole episode, big time, and you start to like her less and less as this goes on. Even though we see this stuff's kind of working and helping some of the people, you start to see her motivations throughout this episode that don't make her so innocent. And what I'm talking about with her brilliantly manipulating people and turning things back on the other person whenever they accuse her of something, when Lars even mentions she's going to make gobs of money off of this, and this cure that she has, and that everyone's going to be cured of PTSD, mental illness, anxiety, sleep better, screw better, like she says, that kind of lures everyone in. But Lars saying that is a point he makes. It's a good point, but then she counteracts with, yes, but you know what? I want you to write about it. I'm probably going to make money, but you are going to get an award out of it, so why not do it for yourself? So she knows how to turn it to help and look like it's going to really be a positive for the other person. What I do like also about this episode is now that the audience is not in it and that we know everyone's getting drugged, they shoot it a little more trippy. And what I mean by that, you're going to see a lot more Dutch angles this episode, and it seems like the way our actors are behaving, they're slowly acting more on drugs, which I thought was really well done by the whole cast. And where you're seeing that vibe, it starts right away just to see with Napoleon and Heather, and I've mentioned this has been my favorite storyline of the show, this family, and I still think that, and Michael Shannon's been brilliant. And I love, though, that Heather's petting the sheets. And what you're seeing, though, is important about this scene is that you are seeing now, because of this microdosing, they're bonding better than ever before, and Heather will mention this later on in the episode, but they're having passionate lovemaking. This is something that's complete 360 from when they first got to this resort. Also, with intrigue built in this episode, right, we see that Yao is also having passionate love here, but with Masha, and he brings up he's concerned. She even told him about the microdosing, and he's worried about the police, but she's able to, again, spin everything, and she's like, it's constructive consent. I told them, and they chose to stay, so she knows how to play the law here. But also, there is this intriguing line. She's like, I didn't tell them everything, so relax. So it's like, what else is there planned here? What's really going on? So that as an audience member, you get a little more excited. They give you little breadcrumbs, but they don't give you the full picture, which I like. I was worried we were going to get the full picture too early. Now, what threw me off a little bit, I don't know if I forgot about a scene in the previous first 3 episodes. Maybe I did. Forgive me if I did, but I feel like it was abrupt that Yao comes to see Delilah. I didn't realize they were living together on this campus and that they shared a bed, because she's like, you stay on the couch tonight. So maybe we could have used a more intimate scene with them together with no one else around to kind of set this up more, and how it's more of a big thing that Yao is sleeping with Masha and how hurt this would make Delilah. But having said that, it's interesting that Yao even accuses Delilah of being possibly the one threatening Masha, and they do a good job. Like I said in previous episodes, we already see Delilah as the voice of reason here. She's kind of like the normal person, the voice of the audience here, observing what we're observing, and she's calling out Masha Masha on everything. So clearly Masha is this villainous character that the show is also brilliantly trying to fool you on. And you like her at points, but at points you see her real true nature, and that's exposed by Delilah. So the real voice you can really only trust here is Delilah. Now, a great scene with Samara Weaving here is Jessica. She's playing a great comic relief in this episode, and I thought this really worked well again, where they're making the drug smoothies now, and she's like, hey, hi, are there drugs in here? Because I want them. I thought this was hysterical. But you're also seeing in this scene that Napoleon was saying he was, a high school gym teacher, anti-drug, but he's on board for this. So you're seeing, like I said, slowly through this episode, everyone knows now they're getting drugged, but they're still there. I also like that this episode got me more into this Frances and Tony relationship. She says this line, when you arrived, you're a complete jackass, and now less complete jackass. Give this thing a shot, open up a new door, which he will to her by the end. So again, these were good scenes. They're purposeful scenes that set up payoffs later in the episode. And it also makes Tony and Frances, in a sense, their relationship, more likable characters, and a lot of things people say with writing is that, the most important thing is character, but really the most important thing is relationships. And if you get good relationships in a show, that just enhances the character, enhances the plot, then you feel emotional. And I think that's why this scene with Frances and Tony Leonard really work, which we'll get into. But what's criminally disappointing about the show, and it continues in this episode, is there's no flow or rhythm between the scenes. The editing is wonky, and they don't cut together and serve a constructive purpose, really. It's kind of, they just end abruptly. There's so many scenes like this, even with Tony and Frances here, and just abruptly going to Carmel. You feel like they didn't think enough outside the box and how they were planning it and how to transition smoothly from scene to scene. It could use a couple match cuts even, just to connect them, something visually even to connect the scenes. It just seems like they've shot a bunch of scenes and then kind of just placed them together later on with no thought to how we'd get from one naturally to the other. That kind of takes away from the aspect of a pleasing episode, that it all comes together smoothly. It just doesn't. But again, what I really liked here, these one-on-one scenes, and now this is where Regina Hall is really going to stand out. And it's amazing watching her, knowing she's mostly known for comedy. She was huge in the Scary Movie film, so to see her kind of do amazing in this serious role is awesome. She's actually doing A++ work here. And her one-on-one scene, they set up well her big scene later on, because Masha's bringing up I hear you want to punch Jessica in the face, you get violent. And she's like, although I get violent, I'm not violent. Big difference. But we will see that is not the case later on. And you see how well Masha reads people and has a plan for how she's going to handle them. But this is the stuff to really make us sympathize with Carmel here. Her husband left her for a younger, prettier thing, she says, and the kids love her. And she even says she's a nice woman, but she wants to punch her. But what's really sad is we learn he's had other affairs even before that, and he said horrible things to her, which Masha has to write down, which we'll see in the scene later on. Now, the relationship I'm not really sold on that's that interesting yet is the one they're kind of putting here with Zoe and Lars. I don't think it's really going anywhere yet that we care too much about, but I do think what's interesting about this and talking about people coming around is she mentions to Lars, she's excited he's going to take this place down with his journalism, but he's hesitant. We'll see. Maybe he's not expecting it to be this corrupt place he thought. He even seems like he's getting converted, which is interesting. So I like the details to this scene with the fencing, and this is this exercise where they take it out on this figure here, and you got to pay attention to these little things. Masha calls out Frances and Carmel to do this exercise. It is Masha doing this. She didn't ask anyone to volunteer, and she does that because she knows these are the two people that their problems are directly anger towards somebody else that's causing it, where with Frances it's this man who made up all these lies to her, and of course with Carmel it's this just awful husband that said horrible things to her and cheated. And I like the little details too, where Masha now calls out Frances for her defense mechanism of just cracking jokes all the time. She's like, no jokes here, face your pain, and it gets her into that zone. And she knew with Carmel, just reading that book with those bad things, that was going to set Carmel off. But this is again where it's the questionable practice, and it turns some people off like Tony. But again, Napoleon's even scared by it, but you see that's where Heather's like, no, I was scared by it, but there's still so much good here and that we're connecting like we never had. Then he's like, well, what about Zoe? It's her 21st birthday. They're going to think about the son who committed suicide, but Zoe's in too. So even in those moments of doubt, they're now leaning more towards the side of staying and buying in. And that's that effective cult-like nature with a cult-like leader in Masha and everyone. This is how people get brainwashed. So where I really think this is our first Emmy-worthy scene is with Bobby Cannavale here as Tony when he is bugging out. He's withdrawing from the painkiller still. He's getting microdosed, and he's thinking about this man he accidentally killed in a bar fight. But him opening it to Frances was so effective because, props to Melissa McCarthy as a scene partner here and the way she cries, listening to him, letting him do his thing also. But holy hell, I mean, this was some of the best acting I've seen, ever. I was blown away. And it comes to just how he's handling things like withdrawing. He's slowly showing shame in his face, not looking her directly in the eye, and then eventually he's fully opening up, looking her directly in the eye when he's saying lines like, I don't know why I'm here. I'm a drug addict. I got 2 kids that don't talk to me. I got a career that ended in a blink. Why am I here? I thought this was delivered so well. He's like, I got nowhere else to go, and you really feel for Tony and even Frances here. So this was such a great, effective scene that was earned. And like I said, it's that thing in writing, relationships really at the end of the day are the heart and core of successful shows and film. And right now, this relationship's really getting better as the season goes on. The big scene at night, right, is Masha sitting at the table with Yao, and Delilah comes and confronts her because she finds out through just seeing it that they're increasing everyone's dosage, and it's making the next protocol go too quick. And they purposely, cinematography-wise, go the Dutch angle on Masha during this scene. So this is really, again, the camera's showing you can't trust this woman. She is the villain here. And it's interesting that I thought it was brilliant how they wrote in that Delilah here is the one who is also being drugged. She's knowingly being drugged, but you see how manipulative Masha is. And she spins it when she says, Yao told me you're not drinking your smoothies. And also, Yao, what a rat, by telling, Masha that about Delilah. But she's like, I put my guest under your care, and it's part of the job to, take your drugs and keep your bipolarity under control. So this is really harsh words by Masha. She's talking down to her like she's a robot, basically. And it's brilliantly portrayed by Nicole Kidman. This is Nicole Kidman's best scene to me yet. And she's just so good at deflecting these aggressive moves by Delilah. And Masha's just not taking any of it seriously. And she just goes with take your medicine, have some fun. And it's such a thing that cult leaders will eventually do where they get power hungry. They start making irrational decisions like upping the dosage like this and manipulating everybody around them. And it's hypocrisy on the character of Masha because we saw it looked like she was helping someone and truly caring for someone in Carmel, and that she was cheated on, used by someone, but she completely is a hypocrite here in the way she treats Delilah, where Delilah is clearly hurt by her relationship with Yao, and that's not a loyal relationship, and she's telling her to ease up on Yao. So it's a completely different viewpoint here, and she should be more understanding of Delilah's pain. And where this really worked well for me was this last scene, because everyone here, you see Jessica's clearly on the MDMA now that Yao gave her, and that's going to work for relationships and helping that, they said, and she's happy. Everyone around this fire is happy. They're even saying, ooh, what's in my smoothie? They're excited about what drugs could possibly in it. So they've come full circle 360 from the beginning of this episode where they're all at a table and they were all resistant to this and mad, and now they're all in. And I love just that crazy moment where Napoleon's saying something and he stops mid-sentence. So we're seeing these drugs, this up dosage now, having a serious effect, and it kind of scares you. Oh God, what's going to happen next? And if I'm predicting anything, Napoleon's the highest odds to die, I think, first, because if anyone dies, it's going to be him, because he's kind of already had a closure with his story, having that big monologue. He's getting on with his wife finally. So it's going to be interesting, but I do want to know what he's envisioning. We saw it again where he sees these 2 kids, whether it's his child self or something he knows about his son before he committed suicide, or a reason that could have caused it that he never told anyone. So that's going to be interesting. And we get this cliffhanger now that I like, where Masha basically goes back to her office. She sees that pottery that she showed Frances, which is interesting. It's shattered. I don't think it's Frances threatening her though. And we see on the wall this crazy setup where it says it's good to die. So someone is there watching her. We know this because they were watching her cliff jumping, and it's just something's coming after, and we have to see who this person is and why. So it's intriguing. I thought this was the best episode of the season yet. I'm going to give it a 9. I'm happy because I was really disappointed in episode 2 and 3, and this gave me hope again. So it got me more on the edge of my seat. I'm more into the characters now, and it's a standout episode for Regina Hall and Bobby Cannavale here. And it really made me into this relationship between Tony and Frances, which was important. And I didn't say this at the beginning of the review, but I just want to reiterate, do not put book spoilers anywhere down below. We're not talking about the book here. Leave that for somewhere else. I haven't read the book myself, so please don't ruin it for me or anyone. That will be later on. We'll have a separate video for that, but no book talk here, please. We're just going to put our theories for what we're seeing in the show. No book readers saying any spoilers. Please, please, please. We want to have this fun and theorize and not have anyone's time ruined. But yeah, let me know what you thought down below. For me, this is a 9, again, because it just had good payoff, amazing acting, tighter writing here, and the only thing that's just holding it back to me right now is this editing, and nothing is flowing great between scenes. It just feels patched together, so hopefully that gets tightened up as we go on, but who knows. But yeah, if you like what I do here, please subscribe, and if you really love what I do here, I love if you can just sign up to be a member and donate. You get exclusive live streams, you get badges, and it will help me do this full-time one day so I can make more videos for you guys, review more shows and movies, which is my dream. And please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter and Instagram for more of me. And I'll see you next time.